Good afternoon, guys, and this is just a quick Sony RX10 Mark IV video, and I'm actually looking at the low light capability of the RX10. How good is it? How bad is it? And is it a usable low light camera? The answer to that basically is it's okay. It's a fabulous camera all round. I mean, what it can do for the money, it is quite expensive, but the stuff you get in the box is pretty crazy. From its burst rate to the size of its buffer, how fast it focuses, its 24 to 600mm lens, its slow motion video capability, it's 4K, it's got eye focus. You've got your multi-shoe, so you can stick a microphone on it. You've got the and lighting, and also all the different flash guns and stuff you can get for it, to wireless flashes, to whatever you can possibly think of. Also, the fact it has headphone jack and mic jack for the video side of things, so it's well packed. You get pretty much. It is a really good sort of second camera to have with you for using it as video or backup camera, or someone, if you've got an assistant, they can snap in the background. It's such a usable piece of equipment for that at very good quality. Its downside is the 1-inch sensor is limited for low light. It's not going to keep up with the larger sensors. And obviously the lenses you can stick onto the mirrorless or the DSLRs you're using, that are f1.4s or f2s as well. So, but its focusing capability is much faster than a lot of the other cameras out there in good light. So here we go. So this is going to be very brief, but this shot here was taken at 24mm at f2.4. It was, so open it up on ISO 2000. It was a 10-second exposure at f2.4 at 24mm equivalent, ISO 2000. You look at it, looks pretty good. There's a little bit of noise, which we could add some noise reduction to get rid of it and everything, but it's a usable image. It's not too bad at all. If you were to print that with a little bit of noise reduction, it'd look fine. It's not a bad shot as such. The only time where you really notice is a little bit of noise down here where the shadow sort of darkness is appearing. It's absolutely fine on the chimney and the brickwork and everything like that. And around this area, absolutely, it's pretty good. You do notice a bit once you get into the stars. It's not, there's a little bit of earth movement there. So, but it's a usable image. It's not amazing, but it's not that bad. The next shot is a 10, or just literally, it's a couple of seconds under 10 minutes as an exposure. So it's ISO 64. Unfortunately, where I live, you've got a few street lights, so there is some light pollution. As you can see in the other shot, there was light onto the chimney there, which is very orange. So that's the reason I've added the sort of blue tint to it, because I've just dropped the white balance down a bit, just to try and counterbalance the sort of orange horribleness. But what I have noticed on this shot is that's appeared, and I think it's just down to the length of exposure rather than an issue, a mechanical issue or anything like that, is heavy noises appeared just for massive amounts of time. So in theory, what you should do is do shorter exposures and stack the image to get the trails. That's probably the easiest way of doing it, rather than doing a 10 or 15, 20 minute or an hour exposure. I think it will go to pot. So yeah, ISO 64, and yeah, the actual image is quite clean, apart from these noise specks that have appeared. And when you go right in, you can see some nasty noise going on here. So there is limitations on the camera. We know that anyway. It's a great all-rounder. You can't have everything. What Sony have done and produced is a great piece of kit that you can pick up and use every day with 95% usage of what you can get, most places, with a camera. So, the fact you can get shots that you would have missed unless you had the right lens on. And quite often, if you're like anybody else, I've been out and about and something's happened in front of me and I've got a wide angle lens on when I could have done with a 600mm lens on, and you've missed the shot. Or you need a wide angle lens on and you've got a zoom lens on. There's no way you can get that shot because you can't get wide enough. So there's always going to be situations where you can't get the shot, and we know that. The difference between this camera is it is so usable, and it's changed the way I take photos on a general basis, not for work, but for general basis. So when you just want to go out for pleasure, and or you're just going to visit family or something like that, I take it with me, just in case you see that thing that may happen that you think, oh, wish I had a camera with me. Oh, I have. So and you've got the options of the big zoom and relatively wide angle lens, so it works in that respect. But its downside, I think, is the low light capability. But it's okay up to about 2000, 3200 at a push in very low light. So when you're shooting at the stars, where the sensitivity could be better and cleaner. All these shots, by the way, were noise reduction turned off, so there's no noise reduction on to see the real image really before the camera has dealt with it. I only do that really because you can apply it on Photoshop anyway, and every time you take say for example, if you did a 5-minute exposure, it's going to take 5 minutes roughly to put on the noise reduction in camera. So you can't take another picture, so you might as well just turn it off, and then you can keep snapping away on a regular basis without having to wait. The comparison shot here is the Sony A7R II, and this shot was at 102,000 ISO, I think. Is this the shot? Yep, at 102,000 ISO with the Zeiss Batis 25mm at f2. That's a 1 second exposure. It's yeah, quite a bit different. So that just shows you the difference in the A7R2's capability, which isn't all that amazing really compared to the I think it's the A7S2, isn't it? It's the low light king of the Sony gear. So this is pretty good. Let's open a lower. Oh, we've got one here somewhere. This shot here from the A7R2 is also another shot, I think, at 102,000. And what I've noticed is if you underexpose a little bit, the noise is more apparent. So if you actually overexpose and then bring your levels back down in the raw adjustments, you can actually neutralize a lot of the noise that was there. We have right, this shot here. So this is the ISO 3200 f2 8 second exposure on the Sony A7R2. So pretty clean. So it is a big difference in the light quality and, well, the detail. I mean, you can't compare 42 megapixels compared to 20. There is more detail at the end of the day. So there is going to be a slightly sharper feel and look to these, but it just proves that both cameras can do it. You have got compromise in all cameras really. Some, unless they're designed to do low light only, or to do low light and have a few less functions and capabilities and elsewhere, it's not going to be all that usable for every single camera. So it just works relatively well. I mean, the Sony A7R2 is a great camera, and I love it for its high resolution and it's really clean, sharp images straight out of camera. And even actually at low light, it's not too bad. But I do see some of the Nikon. A friend who's got a Nikon, who's a bit of a low light master, and he some of the stuff he gets out of his, I think it's a Nikon something like that he's using, which is a lot cheaper than the A7R2, and it's producing some amazing images straight out of the camera, which is a low light of the stars and even galaxies and stuff he's been photographing with it. So there is different cameras seem to be better at certain things. But yeah, so that's the comparison really of the RX10 and its low light capability, which is okay. It is okay. It's not too bad. I would say if you have one or are going to buy one, it's okay up to about ISO 2000 in low light for shooting stars and stuff like that. Any more, you're kind of pushing its limits. ISO 1000 is pretty clean. Any more than that, it starts to be noticed. ISO 1600 to 2000, it's looking still okay, but you might have to add a bit more noise reduction to it later. Once you get to 3200, 4000, and 6400 and stuff, it's pretty horrendous actually. It looks like almost like a green haze suddenly appears across the sensor. It just can't deal with it, and you kind of expect that from a camera that's designed to pretty much do as much as it possibly can for that one user. So that's just the thoughts on this low light bit really, guys. I'll add these shots at high res so you can actually see, or I'll zoom in slowly on the video so you can see what they look like at higher quality. And yeah, so if that's the kind of camera you're expecting it can do really good low light, it can't. But it's a 1-inch sensor, so it's only tiny. So yeah, guys, it's still worth owning. Still worth owning. I do love it because it does so much. And if you're in good to brilliant light, it's an absolute beast. And some of the shots I've got so far of animals and landscapes and stuff like that have been incredible, and they're really good shots. The quality is clean, sharp, and everything like that. But I think its real downside is, or its limitation, should we say, is the low light side of it. Yeah, but we say for 1800 quid, for what it can do, if you actually look at what's in the box, what its functions are, it's worth every penny. That's my personal view on it anyway. And that's the reason I bought it. I wanted a camera that you can pick up every day and not have to worry about carrying some of your gear around, and on the off chance that you might see something. It's not to do with work, it's to do with everyday use, and the fact if you're a photographer you don't want to miss out on anything that may happen in front of you. So it's perfect for what I need. Right guys, that is the end of that video. So if you're a new viewer, please subscribe, push the subscribe button, and also the little bell thing for the notifications. And please have a browse through any other videos that I've done. There are some more RX10 Mark IV videos there. There's a wedding one I did recently with wedding dresses. There's 3 parts to that. Yeah, so if anything interests you, please have a watch. Please comment on things. It's interesting to know what people think. All of these are my personal thoughts. I don't script anything, so it is straight out of my head as I'm thinking. I have cut a few just to take out the ums and things like that. Other than that, they are as real to me as I try not to be too biased, and I try not to make up crap. So yeah, so please keep watching. I shall put a new video up soon. Okay, cheers.